In this video, I will show you how to make this 3D ice cream sundae gift box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. Before we begin, let me show you this finished version of the sundae. So this sundae was designed to coordinate with the ice cream cup. So I kind of have to hold that on when I'm holding it. Here's the ice cream cup. So, it's interchangeable. The lids, the ice cream, will fit in the ice cream. The ice cream will fit here and that in there. So just let you know that as far as the this comes with the ice cream cup. This comes up with the ice cream cone, same size to fit in. They're both boxes, so you can get a different look. And then this confetti, or this sprinkles, I should say, comes with the ice cream cup. So this is the ice cream cup, which is a separate file, and this is the sundae. The sundae come with these sprinkles, so you can mix and match. So here's a version that I mixed and matched with. So you can see I took those sprinkles and put it on there. So these two files go together, and so it gives you a little bit more options of what you can do with them. So we're going to show you how to put the sundae together today. So the first thing we're going to do, so that's what it looks like. But let me go ahead and let's get started. The first thing we want to do is a base. So right here we have these base pieces. Then we want to fold them. So I've already folded these. So you want to make sure you get them good and crisp. If you need to use a bone folder, you probably want to do that if you're using like a score tool or score wheel. Although I do recommend you cutting the dashed lines for this. So you can't really see it that well because it's light, but here are the tabs. And because they're dashed, I don't really have to use this as much. Just have it in my hands. But you can go along if you need to get in that nice crisp fold to do that. It does help when you're assembling. So I already did the other one. The pieces we'll need for this step are not this one, only this one. This will go on later, so I'm going to put this up. I'm going to take my, I'm using Barely Art Glue, and right now this is textured cardstock from American Crafts. Just going to add glue to that little tab on the side and try to get this back in there, and then line that up. So I'm just lining that edge up to the tab fold, up to it, not over it. And before we assemble this, we'll put the panels. So I'm going to flip it over. So here are the panels. One thing I want to make note of, unless you have like a random pattern, like the stripes, you kind of want those to match up at the bottom, like that. So I had them in order as I took them off the mat, so I kept them together. But with stripes, it's pretty easy to match up, but I still want them in the same order. So if that's the case, I would line them up in order. If you don't already have that, I would figure out which one goes, this one with this one, and then once you have them stacked like that together, you can just do it in order. So one, and then when we put these big panels on, we'll pay attention to the order. So that might be off. Let me make sure it's the right one. Yeah, that's the next one. So visually confirm if they get mixed up, and I can tell easily by the stripes. So I'll put these aside. It's better to put on panels when you can. We won't be able to put those larger panels on when it's flat, but for this we can. I just got it mixed up, so let's make sure. It's that one right there. So we're going to go ahead and center these. So that's why folding helps, as we can see where the edges are easily near the tabs. So one thing I always do when it comes to these kind of things that you may be a little bit off, I try to center it left and right and up and down, but left and right for sure you want to try to get. But if for some reason you pull this lower, what I like to do is just at least line it up to wherever the first one is on the bottom and top. So these go on pretty quick. This is just a stripe pattern that I found in a digital paper. And then once we get these on, we can go ahead and assemble the bottom. And I like to do this because it can sit and after we glue it, be nice and ready when we attach the top part of the box. So now that we have all the panels on, let's go ahead and glue this together. So it doesn't matter which side you start with. You can start on the right or the left. So we're going to glue each of these tabs under. Just going to add a little glue here. We're going to line this edge up to the tab fold like that. So you can always use a finger or thumb to validate that we're getting it lined up pretty well. That's what it looks like on the inside. This goes together exactly like the base of the ice cream cup. So if you've done the other one, then it would be the same process. So continuing, I always double check to make sure that it's lined up pretty well as we go along. So we're almost done. On some of the sections I will be fast forwarding through the repetitive, so if you feel like I'm going too slow, too fast, or anything like that, you can always fast forward or pause. It's the beauty of having videos. I'll line that up. And then for this last tab, we'll just go ahead and put glue on both tabs. So fold this last one in right there. And we don't want to attach that first. Let's do the large one. So you just have to get it into place. Like that. Line it up. Once you get that big one in place, you can fold this gently under. If you do it too quickly, it might pull apart this one, so make sure you're good and set. I'd hold that just a little bit longer than normal. See, that's what the tabs look like inside. I didn't hold that one as long as I should have. If you have to add a little glue to fix a tab, you can do that. So after you have that all glued together like that, this is going to be the base. we want to put this first bottom panel on. And I tend to put this in for stability, and it also helps shape it. It's just easier than putting one big panel down like that, and it makes it stronger on the bottom. So the way I do that is just anchoring one tab. So let's just pull these up because I'm going to rotate it in once. So I'm going to add a little glue to this first one. So just pull one back like that. You can do it really anyway, but this is how I do it. I start here to line it up so I can see that it lines up into that section. I'm just going to rotate it lightly. And then I want to make sure that this edge goes into the inside fold best I can. And then I'll validate it's centered. So I'm kind of pushing it in and then getting it anchored right there to get it set in place. So now it's anchored. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the opposite tab. And essentially do the same. I'm just pushing so that the edge lines up into the tab fold. So it's kind of sitting right in there inside. And then we'll finish it off. So let's do 2 tabs at a time. So the other benefit about doing something like this is that when I attach I can still have the ability, it's going to give it a nice defined hexagon on the bottom, so it'll be easier to put that big panel on the bottom, and we'll still be able to reach in before then to attach the top part of the box. It's just something that it used to drive me crazy when in my beginnings of my design process. I would try to put on a hexagon or octagon panel like this, and I would anchor it and then a big one and just go like that. Well, it bothered me because it wasn't as precise as I wanted it to be. So this is the reason I started doing this. It takes a little bit more paper, but it really does help. At least that's my opinion. So we can go around, just do our final, and then we're going to put this aside so it can get good and dry. Then we'll move on to next we're moving on to the actual box, the top portion of the box. So we have these 6 panels, and we're going to have these as well. And these are to hide the tabs once on the inside here once we get it assembled. It was kind of driving me nuts seeing those, so I added that. So the same thing, you want to use whatever you need to do to fold. And I fold like that, and then we kind of like that is how we want it to fold. And then maybe burnish it just a little bit to have it go like this, the shape, because the shape of the box, get that, goes kind of like that. So just folding it like that, curling it. And again, if you need to use your bone folder or something similar to get crisp edges, folds, you could do that as well. I don't need to because I cut them out rather than did the dash lines. So we want to also train this way because when we glue it, we're going to glue it like that, the tab. So it's best to kind of train that tab before we put it together. So to put this together, once we have them all folded, we're going to go ahead and start with this tab. So we want to use that as our anchor. So fold these back so they don't get in the way. You want to add glue to this first top tab. Then you want to line this up And if you want to use this as a reference, the fold and the top to line it up, that's the best way. And you can see that that lines up, the fold lines up. And then there's just a little dip in between, just a little between each panel. And I'm using my thumb to make sure that it's lined up there. So once it's anchored, this is actually a pretty easy box to put together. You can pull it back like that, or you can reach inside. We'll do it this way. I'll show you how much glue I'm not using a lot of glue, just a little bit glue on each tab. Trying to hold it a different way so you can see it on the camera. You can see how much I'm using. Right there. So starting at the top, towards the top, let's continue down. So you want to go top down in order of tabs. And I'm using my thumb again to make sure it's lined up. And you don't want, I have a little damp towel, so if you do get any excess, you can just lightly wipe it away. It will be showing a little bit on the edges of the box, but if you you can also ink the edge of the box if you'd like before you. We can do that if we. I didn't plan on it, but I'll find some coordinating ink for that to show you. So we're going to keep on going around doing the same thing. So that's what it looks like on the inside. They're stuck together. Let's go ahead and do another one more on while I'm talking. I'll talk through it. The rest of it I'm going to fast forward through the addition of the rest of them. So if you need to pause or anything, you can do that during that time if you wanted to put it together while you're watching it. So you could just put glue on a couple of them at once if that works better for you. It's just a matter of how quick you are and how quick your glue dries. So once you know that, you know how far you can go before you have to. There's nothing worse than getting to the last couple tabs and then it's dried up and you have to add more. And try to get that as tight as possible. So if you do start, one thing I want to mention is there might be somebody out there that thinks it'd be better to go from the bottom to the top. If you go bottom to the top, inevitably things are going to get a little bit off on the top between here. So it's possible. It's not always, but we're not perfect with the folding. So unless you match it up exactly, it'll be just a little bit off. You won't notice it, but that's why I go from top to bottom. Top and bottom, you're less likely to see if there's any minor errors down here than you will up here. So let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and finish it off, and then we'll go on to the next step. So we're just going to close this box up. I like to always talk over the closure just in case somebody struggles with it. This is not that hard, this one, so I don't envision any issues. So we're going to go, you start at the top again. You just want to like pull it apart. You could always put these tabs further down so they don't attach while you're doing anchoring. And that's the way I did it when I did one side like that. But again, just concentrating on lining it up. And then going one tab by one tab here. So you may have to move it around in your hands to get it. And I'm going to attach this bottom one first. Line it up. And then slowly adjust these remaining middle ones. When I stopped recording, I was looking for some ink that would work well on these edges, but with a light color like this and my panels, it's just not going to look well. So, but a general thing is, let's just say you had a light blue one, and having just a slight light blue if you have any defects. But I like it without the ink. I mean, it's up to you. For people that like ink, it's just not going to go with my panels very well. I tested it, it just was not the greatest. So once we have this all together, just double checking, that's what it's going to look like inside. So what I want to do next is to put on the outside panels and then these edge inside panels. We want it, it's a good time because we can still reach in and to apply pressure. So remember, these have to be in a certain order. So you want to validate that first. So let me get this. So I put them in order, but you might want to, if you have like a stripe pattern, I started with, I believe it's this one, and then just put them upside down. So if I go left to right, I'll be okay. So that wasn't that one. It's this one. So it's this one. Just to let you know, just pay attention to that if you have stripes. To just validate. And I'm going through this simply because I know there's somebody else like me that will forget to check that. And then when you have it together, it could get frustrating because you want it to look good on the sides. And the same will go when we attach that top piece. So we're going to go left to right because we want it to match that base. So we'll start on the top here. And we're just going to fold that forward. And you really don't need to curl it because it'll go nicely. But we're going to put it right into that, the fold right here. That fold will match up there, and then it'll be centered on the right and left. And just come down like that. So you can put little dots of glue in between up here. So I'm only going to put like 2 of these on camera, and then I'll put the rest off camera. I'm not even going to forward through them. I'll just put them on, but just demonstrating. So get that lined up into that fold, center and left and right. You might want to have that sticking up like that so you don't get glue. I didn't do that, but fortunately the glue is where I'm going to cover. And then like this. And there are optional, if you go into extra step folder, there are some panels that are solid without the cutouts that you can use instead if you don't want the cutouts. Oops, so left to right, remember that. I said left to right. That's as easy as I can get distracted. So, and I'm putting glue a little bit inward so it's not right at the edge, so it gives me a little room to move them around. So we'll put this panel on the way that I think would work better anyways. Kind of fold it up so that this part doesn't touch. And go like that. So I'm lining it up in that. So this fold matches this fold right here. And then once I get it centered, I can just go down like that. So just remember, if you do have a pattern paper like this that matches one at the bottom, if you have a random one, it's not as big of a deal. We still keep on going round. I'll just do one more. And I'm also going to show you the optional internal panels. Some people might not want to cut them out. Just depends on the person whether they care or not that the tabs can be seen inside. Could tell I didn't have it centered. So always going to be one panel. So I'll continue doing those, making sure I'm going left to right so the colors might match up for the ones on the base. But before that, I'm going to show you these internal panels. And I'm just going to put one on as far as this goes. So these are the two panels. So this is the optional one. This is in the extra stuff folder. This one's not optional, but it's optional whether you want to add it, because this will be covering that tab right there to finish it off. So and this just goes in here. One thing to note, it is slightly smaller than that inside, so it easily slides in. So you just go ahead and add glue. But it's not in the main file, just being clear, because there are some people that might not care whether they want to cut this paper. But I did test it, and with the two other pieces, if you can place these, you can make it so if you wanted to use these, everything would fit on two 12 by 12s. But they're also sized for letter size. And then this one and I'm just going to put the glue here. This is exactly the size. The top one is exactly the size. The panel. So it cleans it all up. You get that texture inside. So this even be fun to add like an embossing folder. So I should have done that. How cute would that have been? I may have to do that. And just like that. Okay. So I'm going to add the rest of them, and then we'll move on to the next step. After I mentioned very briefly about embossing, I decided to emboss these really quick. So that looks super cute. I wish I thought about it before I did it, but I quickly regrouped and embossed these with a little embossing folder. So after the cutout, you can just emboss them and then set them down. So see how it cleans it all up in there. So now we're just going to add this to the base. So the important thing here is that I have to line up the lines. So let's see where I can find. I'm going to find this color. So I think it looks like it's this right here. Yep, that's it. So you can see it's all lined up. I'm going to go ahead and slide it through like that. And then I'll just glue one of them first. So I'll glue this tab. Once we got one in place, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Placement. So I'm going to fold it in. And then what I'm making sure is that this little edge, the edge of the base right here, goes into the tab fold. And just holding it. Then I'll do the opposite one. So we'll be able to move on. The same thing, I'm going to make sure the edge is in. We'll move on to the ice cream, the lid part, after this. And then just add glue to the remaining ones. Again, I still make sure that I'm pushing in on this edge into the inside of the fold, the tab fold. And I'm just making sure there's no gap down there. That's why I keep on kind of looking from this side. Two more. So just make sure they're all good and secure. Gets it pretty sturdy at that point. And then I'm just going to flip it upside down and add glue to these edges. Then we'll get that. Went a little bit heavy on. I like to get it close to the edges when it comes to the last panels. Because even if it just leaks out a little bit, which I hope it doesn't, but that was a little bit too heavy right there. So it adheres really well on the edges. So making sure the textured side is showing. Just going to start lining it up like that. Just get it lined up in place, and of course we can only apply pressure on these edges, but I made them thick enough that it gives it the sturdiness it requires. It's enough glue too to keep it going. So I'm just rubbing on the edges to make sure there's no gaps, or to minimize gaps, I should say. There's always going to be a slight gap, but not really. And then you can do this. So there it is. We're getting there. So let's go ahead and start making the lid. So now we have the pieces for the ice cream lid. For these, I already did 4 of them where I kind of burnished them and curled them. So you can see that they're curled, ready to put together. If you curl them or curve them a little bit before you put them together. And this works really well with American Craft textured cardstock. Or there's Encore textured, and Cricut textured is okay too, a little bit. I mean, it just depends. So I just usually use a round tool, and I'm using my stylus, and you could use a dowel, a round dowel. But just to curl it before you fold the tabs, like that, and then fold them in. If it's not enough, you could always go back and do it. You can also try to do it with your hand. I just burnish it like that. I call it curve. Just working the paper a little bit. Like that. See, that's a different way of doing it. Just lightly. You don't want to fold it or anything. So just like we did with this will be the top of it. But just like we did with the bottom, the actual Sundae portion, we're going to start from the top and then work our way bottom for each panel. So I would say the same thing where you anchor maybe 2 of them. We had one big one to anchor before, but we're going to anchor 2 of these. Add some glue to the top 2. And I fold them in just to get them out of the way. And with this folded, this helps when it's folded, so you can line this up with this fold. So you know where to line it up, like that. Then we can go ahead and add glue to, you can either, if you can do all of them, you can do it all at once, but I'll do all the ones up to the big tab. That usually gives me enough time. I can do all of them, but that's just because I've been doing this for a while. I'm going to use this thumb to line it up, make sure as I'm going down each tab. You want to keep on starting where we just glued, from up, go up to down. And then kind of lining it up, pushing it in, making sure this edge lines up to the tab folds. Like that. So we still have to do that bottom tab. So you can do all the tabs at once, add glue all at once. Not very big, so you can do that easily. So we'll go ahead and line this up. Like that. It's a little bit off on the first one. So let's go ahead and do it that one more time. I'm not going to speak through the rest of them. I'm going to just show you, and it's going to be sped up a little bit. So if you need to pause, you'd want to do so at that point in time. But anchoring them and getting them in the right spot to start with is going to help you tremendously. Like that. That's what it looks like inside. And I'm just going to go ahead and add glue to the remainder. I'm going to go all the way down. And if you need to, you know, make sure you have a really good crisp fold, depending on whether you're trying to use a, again, I don't recommend a score tool for this kind of 3D file, but some people prefer it. So just make sure you get a really good edge on that fold. So now I'm going to go through the other hand and just kind of pull them, start for where I stopped, continue coming down. And you want to make sure that each, the tabs above are secure before you go on to the next one. I mean, you can go over them again with your fingertips if you know, I'm just continually pushing with my other fingers inside. Now, even though it appears, the reason why we start at the top, you see how this is like just slight, ever so slightly longer right here, which you could trim it if it bothers you, but it really isn't longer. It's just how precise I am versus the cut. The engineering of it, I wasn't close enough to this fold. I got a little bit further down than this one. So that's why we started at the top, to get as close as possible. Otherwise, you went from here to here, you'd probably have more of that, which would be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and continue putting these on. And then when we get to the point of closing, I'll come back and I'll just show you how I close it up to finish it. Now we have all 6 panels on. It gets a little tricky with rounded items when you're closing them up. It's never quite perfect. In fact, I can see that I went a little bit over on this edge, which is okay. But we're going to go ahead and try to add, we're not going to try to, we're going to add glue to all these tabs at once. And it gives us a little time to move it around into place. And you want to kind of squish them down, fold them down a little bit, get them out of the way, making sure I have, you can barely see I have the glue because it's the same, the glue's almost the same color as the vanilla paper. So you can see it's on the outside, but I'm going to just kind of squeeze it to go under so I don't get glue on the outside. And it becomes hard to kind of start it. But if you can angle it, do you see where that fold is right there? And then so you kind of have to angle it with the first couple. It's not going to hold there, that's why I'm saying that. Ugh. Just have to get in the right position. It's a little tricky. So I'm still doing 2. So I'm holding it with my other finger underneath. I just want to get those started. And that's why I fold it all down, because I'm going to do this bottom one next. Okay, so hold that strong enough. Be gentle. Get this bottom one in place. Kind of curve it. Make sure I'm showing that right. And then what we're going to do is reach in, and the tabs are going down, right? I'm going to fold them that way towards me and push it down as I go along. So it's opposite what I do, but because it's curved and it's, so I'm kind of like pushing it down, pushing it up to adjust that edge. See, I just kind of inch it up, push up to line it up. The same thing, pushing this up just a little bit. And what's in where I want it to be, or I can adjust it down just a little bit. Like that. There it is. So that's the only tricky part. So that's going to be the top, and this is the bottom. So this will fit into like that. So let's go ahead and add these. Before we put this top panel on, we're going to add these so you can reach in and do it. So we can go ahead and curl these just a little bit. You can do them all at once, or so what you're going to notice is I separated them. There's 3 that have a long drip on the left and 3 that have a short drip on the left. We're going to alternate those panels. And so I have just 2 stacks. You can either do it that way or put them in order, whichever you think is best for you. I'm usually better at putting them in order on there so I don't mess up. On this video, I'm going to just alternate between the stacks and double check as I do it. But before we do this, I almost forgot that. We went to, and I'll show you, I'll demonstrate it in a minute, but we're going to do a little inking right here on the edges. So when we put these panels on, you won't see the vanilla as prominent in between. So I'm going to use a coordinating ink to the paper. So if you're using white, obviously you can ink it white. I mean, you could, there is white ink. But we need to know how far this goes down. So this goes down like right here. It seems like it's a weird shape, but it's actually the same shape if you start at the top there. Like that. So you could use I'm just going to use a pencil to mark it. Just a little bit above it. You don't have to. I'm just showing you where I'm going to ink. And then I'll just go around and do the same around the whole thing. So I'm using this little, this is actually one of my favorite powder chalking inks. Used to be Cat Eye, and Cat Eyes are no longer, the business is no longer making them. They're not even in business anymore. So this is something I had, Powder Puff chalking ink, and they do sell them, but they're from Quick Quotes. This is what I'm using for this because it was the best color I had. And I'll show you how I use it. I don't care if I get ink on this, by the way, the top, because it's going to be hidden by the whipped cream. So if you see in between, you're not going to see in between anymore. I'll even do the top edge. And I'm eyeballing this, so if you wanted to make it, I'll go over and go, I just don't want to go too far. I'll touch it up if I need to. So this one, like that. So this could go just a little bit, a hair down. More than a hair, like a millimeter. So this is, I didn't do this on the very first one, so I guess I'll just show you that. So on the very first one, had some mistakes on here. I tried to ink it after the fact, it didn't work, but you can see little gaps right there. That's why I'm doing that. I mean, ironically, they're the same size, but if you don't put them on exactly as is, and it depends on how this glues together, there's different variables of how this will go on based on how accurate you are here. So that's the reason. So it's pretty close. What's nice about these are that this is like super wet, by the way, so I'm being really careful not to get it on other places. It can get into small areas. I haven't used them much on video, probably just because they're not that widely available. They are in business though. I mean, they do sell them. Okay, so now we have these different ones, so I have to separate them again. So we're going to put them on one alternate. So we're going to take one. This is really not that hard to do. It's just a matter of paying attention to alternating, and the inking helps. So I'm going to line this up to the fold up there. And if I need to, I can come in with like a Q-tip or something like that to get that. I have this, which is kind of like it's a brush tip. We'll just keep that if I want to get all the way. It's not the most accurate, so I don't always use it. So it depends how how much you want to get, how accurate you want it to be, or how much it bothers you. It doesn't really bother me that much, honestly. So we want to alternate them. So now there's the tall drip and then the short drip. So the short drip's on the left. Be careful not to get the glue on the lighter, this area. So we'll continue just alternating. So like I said, it's easier for me to do this, to put them in order. So I can put it above that. So I know next, then I just go left to right. Because I know me, I get easily distracted. And then next thing you know, I didn't put something on right. So I tried to create things like that to make it so I don't mess up. I just have a little damp paper towel. So I'll go ahead and finish putting these on, and then we'll put this top piece on, and then we'll move on to the whipped cream. So now we have the panels on. Let's go ahead and put this other panel. So let's go ahead and put it on the inside. Just flip these up to make it easy to add the glue. So we're just going to put this inside. If for some reason you didn't want the whipped cream, but it would just be flat, I doubt you'd ever use that. You could always use the ice cream from the ice cream cup, or you could always cut another panel out with the same color if you wanted to put something different on top. So I'm going to push those in. I'm going to reach in, add the panel in here. So I'm just trying to line it up, line the edges up to the opening. Kind of showing you. See what it looks like from the top. Then we can apply pressure on from the top. You want to get lined up as best you can, so it'll line up okay there. Then you can always use something like this is a wooden chopstick. It's a tool I like to use. It's inexpensive. If you go and get Chinese food, and nobody uses your chopsticks. So that's ready for now. We just need to do the whipped cream. So let's go ahead and put that up there. So here's, I already did one portion of it. So we're going to attach 3 of these together. So these 3, so there'll be 6 of these identical. And we'll attach them to be like this. And before we do that, let's go ahead and take these 2 panels and put them back to back. So I want the texture side to be out. Just line it up. And then for each of the 3, you're going to do this. So this is already done. So we're just going to go like this, back to back, like that, and then back to back like this with the. So you want to fold them a valley fold, and then you want to pre-fold these to get them ready because they'll be folded backwards into this. So pre-fold these tabs, fold this nice and crisp like that, and if you need to use a bone folder to do that, you can do that like that. In fact, I'm going to do that with this. I already did the other one. Noting that the paper I want is on the inside here. They're all the same size, so it makes it somewhat easy here. Just going to add a little glue going right on this one side. Do not add glue to that tab. So you could hold it there if you wanted to. And then take the other one folded, and on the non-texture side, or the side that's has the mountain fold, we're just going to line it up. So super simple. Just line it up. And you could, if once you get it lined up on the edge, you could always place it down and get some good pressure on it. So now we're going to fold this one over. Do the same with the third piece. The biggest thing is not to jump ahead and try to glue it together, because that's not what we want to do. So again, I'm making sure it lines up here from both sides. And then I'll flatten. So this is what you should be left with, something like this. So from the, like that. And that's what this one is already. I just have to find the open edges, like that. So now we're going to take this piece and glue it, this little flared out piece that's not glued on to anything, they're just open like that. We're going to glue it down like this and lining it up to the little curves on each side. So we can do one at a time or both at once. I think it'll be easier to do both at once. And I'm putting the glue a little bit in so it gives me a second to move it around. I'll hold it towards the tabs at the bottom. My glue was starting to clog up a little bit. So I'm going to place it down carefully. You see it lines up to the bottom rounded areas. And then glues to the middle like that. So we're going to do the other side. So you can always flatten it too if it's going to make it easier for you. Again, I'm going to add glue to this open part. So this is all textured, the ones that I glued together, but the single pieces right here, I'm going to add glue to. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to flatten it and line it up on the left and right. That was noisy. So I'm going to line it up on the bottom, left and right. It's easier to flatten than you can do so. Makes it kind of thick. So we can just go like this. You can see that there's going to be two that flare out in the front and two that flare out in the back. And then make sure that you have that good end good and glued together like that. So now, because we already pre-folded all these, and if you haven't, make sure you pre-fold them, put them together, and look at carefully with the texture side up here, line these up to the holes. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be that simple, but it's really not that hard. You just kind of have to do a little bit at a time. So proof's in the pudding, right? So if you start one and then just go around and get the others. See how they slide in? I'm not putting them all the way in because I need a little bit of leeway to get them all in before. So now you can see it all in. I'm going to show you from this side. You can see gaps. We don't want a big gap, so you want to kind of push it flush. So the way we'll do that is these are going to fold back to glue. So we're going to glue the first one right here. So it really doesn't matter which is the first one. The biggest thing is, before you glue it down, make sure there's not a big gap right here, right there. So push it in, and then so I'm pulling. See how there's not a big gap there. And let's do the one that's opposite to it. Let's push it in like that. And put a little glue on both sides. And we're going to fold it back. And I apologize if you hear any noise. I don't have a closed door, so what happens, people walk upstairs. I'm in a basement and you can hear it. So I just go ahead and again push it flush. And fold it back again. Like that. So it's just about pushing it through, kind of getting it flush. Those look like they're stuck together. So I got to push that through. Sometimes it's not as easy as, because you don't want to get glue on the top part. It's okay if it gets a little bit on the bottom, but then this one, I'm going to pre-fold it first. So I can make sure it's moved all the way through. So if you're wondering why this is not more 3D, I tried. This is probably about the 5th version of my whipped cream. I decided to go a little simpler than like a 3D one, because I felt it was just too difficult for the masses. I try to craft so almost anybody can do it. I usually can teach it, but I tried, like I said, this is like the 5th type. So there it is. So we can go ahead and glue it on. I'm just going to add glue to this entire panel. I want to see which panels look the best to me so I can kind of situate it that way, the front of it. Maybe I'll go that way. Because when you look at the front, you want the little curl to be that way or that way. So with this one, you just kind of have to put a little pressure in between because you can't flip it upside down or anything like that. But once you get it in place, you can go ahead and apply pressure inside with your hand. But you have to be patient. So if you do want to put a cherry, which I'm just going to slide on, so the way that I did this, it's up to you how you want to do it, but I like how this slides on. So if you do both sides like that, it just slides on. I don't have this glued on right now, but I just slide it on. So to do that, it's just really simple. These go back to back. So because it's textured, I want to make sure that I have the textured side out. So do the cherries is simple, but I started and I did it wrong. So I'm going to redo it so you see a little glue. It's drying. If you want it to just slide on, you want to do it kind of like halfway so you can slide it on. So I accidentally did the entire thing the first time. I was letting my mind wander. Don't let your mind wander when you're doing the video. So then I can slide on. So just glue up to like right here inside, so you can pull it apart and slide it onto the, it's still wet, but then you can slide it on like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the rest of this. And that's how you fix a problem, folks. When you if you catch it fast enough, a mistake you made can be reversible, because nobody's ever going to see the inside of it. Once I glue it onto the, if you glue it on, I am going to glue it on. I'm going to make a final decision, but this gives me time to make a decision and decide where the final placement is of the strawberry, the cherry. So we can just separate a little bit. And when I'm ready, if I want to put it on the right, I tend to go right because I'm right-handed. I can just add a little glue on the inside there. And if you want it to be more like not sideways, you could add glue like right here, and then you could have that straight up. So there's different ways to do it. And let me do that again from this angle. If you want it to go, so right now the way I put the glue in, it's going to go sideways, which is fine. It's kind of artsy-fartsy. But if you wanted it to be a little bit straightforward up, then to slide it, if you wanted to slide it that way, you'd have to glue it a little bit different. So just be aware of that. Just kind of place it up there to see where you'd have to slide it. So if I wanted to slide it that way, then I would just glue this portion, if that makes sense, on the inside, and keep it so I can split it and glue it on. So that's different ways of doing it. Let's see. The other thing I want to talk about is sprinkles. So I might make sure I don't forget that. So we have this. I'm not going to put sprinkles on this one, but here are the sprinkles that come with the file. So there's a little file that has 6 of them. 3 of them will be a little longer than the other 3. So there's a short one and a longer one. So it just gives it a little dimension when you mix them up. I placed these individually. So I literally went and I'll give you a little demo. So I have some right here, and I actually use these for another project. So I say save them, but if you pull them out, so I put them on my desk when I was doing them. But if basically, I'll put 2 on this one to demo it. So I just mixed it up. And the way I did it was, I'm just going to add a little one right here. And said I kind of knew what size to do it. And just took a little tweezers and just did this. So one more time. So it didn't take long, because what I did is I did like 4 marks at a time. So I just used the glue to guide it, and then I did it probably just as long as a short one, so you can see how long that is, and then placed it. You don't have to use this. I have a little glue on the tip of this, so it's kind of holding on to things. But it was pretty easy once I just did the glue. Just went like that. If you want to try real sprinkles, you can. I did try using Mod Podge. That's another thing I want to tell you about. If you want to make it shiny, I used Mod Podge gloss to shine this up. And then I tried to actually add, this is the sprinkles from, these are the sprinkles from the cup, the ice cream cup. So you can mix and match. But I have a demo in that. You can watch that tutorial to find out how I did this using Mod Podge Glossy. So it gives it more, you know, that syrupy look. So that's what I wanted to cover with that, even though I wasn't going to put all these in. You can see I have lots of extra ones. I always say I only have 6 of them. So make sure that you cut. I want to note that you just want to cut as many. I'd say probably about, I thought I would only need 6 per side. But I would do at least, if we have 6 sides, like 6 times 8. I would do that, but try different colors and just mix them up like this. And then so when you're doing it, if you're doing different colors, you can place them arbitrarily, however you want to do it. This I did, like I said, I put Mod Podge on, and then some of these stuck. So I just kind of sprinkled them over, and you'll see that in the video if you want to go watch that. So let me go ahead and I'm going to add this cherry. Let's see. I'm going to add this, I think, to the left. The other one's to the right, so why not switch it up? So I'm just going to add a little glue in here, further in. And you want to attach to what on the side of this portion if you're going to use the cherry. Some people might not do. So that's the wonderful thing about this. It is like making a sundae. You can make it to your preference. So we do have one other things we want to cover, and then we're done. So we're basically done, but I want to show you something that I added to the file. So here, within the extra stuff folder, there's this little template, and it goes right here. So this is optional, but what it allows you to do is, I wanted to be able to put some gems on the side, but I wanted them to be evenly spaced. So what it allows you to do is to do this. So to put these across. So you can see I already did this, and I'm going to show you just placing it over and making those. And of course you have to put something bigger than that. So for these I put a little bit smaller because I wasn't sure if these were too big. But instead of gluing them onto the sides, which you can do too, you could cut this times 6 and do that if that's what you want to do, if it's easier. I just placed it right here. Just make sure it's lined up. And this is a pencil. And I know the gems I'm putting on here are bigger than these holes. So if it's smaller, then you want to make sure that it's not smaller than what you're going to put on. Then it gives me a place to put them. So I'm just going to show you one side, and I'll put the rest of them on myself. So I'm going to use these. These are just little rhinestones you can pretty much get anywhere. But you need 30, so I'm going to tell you a little tip about that. So when you put them on, either pick one color, but if you want multiple colors, you're either going to want to pick 2 colors, and I'll tell you it's because of multiples of 30, right? So 2 colors, so that's 2, because 2 divided by 30 is 15, and then you can do 3 colors, because that you need 10 of each. So 15 of each for 2 colors, 10 of each for 3 colors, and or you could do 5. So I'm trying to think. 5 would look better. I wouldn't go any more than 5. So 5, you would only need 6 colors of each. So those are the options. And I tried to pick what's coordinating, but I decided that I like this little kind of like an iridescent one gem. So let me show you. So now that I have these, just I can put a dot of glue on each. And I can use my tweezers to place them. And I know this is tedious looking, but I know a lot of crafters that go the extra mile. It just depends, because usually if you're doing something like this, you're doing it, you're not going to do a ton of them. I mean, you may if you want to do, but usually it's for one person. I mean, every once in a while it's mass, but this kind of file is more like a special occasion for that you don't make a ton of them at once. So you can take the time to make sure that they're all lined up. So it just adds a little thing, something extra. So I'm going to finish putting these on, and you can see I have all my little things, and it makes it super fast. And what I did, what I usually do, or what I did before, is I would do like 2 sides at once and let them dry. And then do the other 2 and then last 2. So here's the finished ice cream sundae. I have to hold it on because if I put it sideways, the top will fall off. So with all those gems equally spaced. And here's a different one with the included sprinkles. So you can see the different looks you can get. So this is more like a fudge topping with chocolate sprinkles. And then let's see if I can bring them in together. Holding it. There you go. So there's a lot of fun options with this one. And some options also if you combine it with the ice cream cup ice cream. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time.